Hey guys, welcome to sunny California. My name is Kelly. No, I'm not wearing the same shirt this week that this video is getting released. I just decided to go ahead and record a couple videos at once so that way I had, the video already. Plus, I already had some things that I wanted to rant about. I'm not quite sure how I felt about last video. But we'll have to see, since I literally just posted it. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about in this video is about therapy and my experiences in therapy and, kind of some of the misconceptions of therapy. I had someone in my life who was really struggling, and I went to him and I said, hey, I see that you're struggling and I really think that you need to seek therapy. And he was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not having someone tell me how to live my life. I'm not gonna have someone tell me what to do, someone who's gonna judge me. And I was like, that's not at all what therapy is, or that's not what therapy is supposed to be. Okay, there are a lot of therapists out there. Maybe not enough, really, considering how much mental health is needed and mental wellness is needed right now. But there are a lot of different personalities out there, and so you can get a quack doctor. Like, there is definitely 100% quack doctors, okay? And sometimes there are doctors that, it's not that they're bad, it's just that they don't mesh well with you. For me, I've definitely worked with a number of different therapists for a number of different reasons, and some I've really liked and some I didn't. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I went to therapy for the first time because I had issues in school. In middle school, I had such a hard time, I felt I was being bullied. And I'm going to say how I felt because my perceptions may have been wrong. And I say may because I don't necessarily think they were, but if you talk to the people involved, maybe they have a different perspective that I was just never able to see. And my goal is to be a more understanding, more positive person. So we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, I upset someone somehow when I was in 6th or 7th grade, and she and her friends in turn made sure that they made me feel awful, and they called me names. This was back in the early 2000s. Definitely not the late 90s. I was older than that. It would have been like 2002, 2003. And, they called me names. They threatened to beat me up all the time. I would come home crying all the time. Just, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I need to do different. I think what it really comes down to is that if I'd known better, and maybe if we weren't so young, I would have went to the girl who kind of started everything and said, hey, I'm sorry for whatever I did that upset you. I didn't mean to. But kids are dumb, and we don't know. I'm still a kid. But part of me is, but, you don't know. You don't always know what you're doing. You don't always know what you're saying. And, even now as an adult, I still, can be very blunt at times, that people kind of get taken aback. They're like, what? And it's like, no, I'm just speaking, I'm just speaking bluntly. Like, there was literally no emotion behind what I just said, and that's probably part of the issue. But anyway, so I started seeing this therapist, because, like, when people call you names all the time, it, starts to mess with you, When people tell you you're ugly all the time, you start to wonder if maybe that's true. And when they tell you you look like a certain amphibious animal, you start to question yourself and question, your worth, especially when you're that young. So I went to a therapist, was like, hey, forget if I was having panic attacks yet at that point or not, but I would go to this therapist, man, and it was like a half hour, 45 minutes of her just talking and talking and talking, and it's like, dude, can I get a word in? Like, are we even here to talk about me? Or are you just gonna talk to me this whole time? So I was like, I'm out, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't need therapy. This was stupid. This was a waste of my time. But when I was even younger than that, when I was like in early elementary school, I used to go to a counselor all the time, and I used to go see the school counselor all the time because my mom was sick when I was younger, and I'm sure that it affected me in ways I don't remember, but they'd have me see the school counselor regularly, and it was really just like hanging out with the school counselor. It wasn't really like, it didn't, I mean, I didn't know it was therapy as a kid. Like, I didn't know that they were like keeping an eye on me or anything. It was just like, oh, hey, like, we're gonna play games and have a good time, cool. So that wasn't a negative experience. The therapist that I'm with now, I've been seeing since I was like 16, 17 years old. So it's been a long time seeing her. Because I'm 28 now. So like 12 years. And there's been different things that we've done together. Mostly it's been talk therapy. She kind of helps challenge my perceptions and, validates my feelings when I need it, because I tend to be hard on myself at times. And most recently we've started doing some more in-depth, more active therapy versus my just normal kind of come in, complain. She gives me into her like insight and us going from there. There's definitely some stuff from that I'm going to share with you as well, but in a different video. But with the therapist I have now, we have a relationship. She knows me. She knows my family. She has a good idea of how I think, and it's really nice to have someone kind of. I wouldn't necessarily say she's impartial per se, because we do have a relationship. We do have that rapport, but she doesn't have really any pull in the game. She doesn't have any skin in the game. She has no real reason to, guide me towards one person or guide me towards another person. Or tell me to do one thing or tell me to not. And I mean, she doesn't tell me what to do. If anything, she just has me question, was that the best thing for me to do? Was that a healthy thought? But in the same vein, like, she also reminds me not to judge myself so harshly. So much of these videos are things that I've gained from her. So for people who, they're like, oh, I don't want to go to therapy, it's so nice to be able to go to someone and just pour all of your stuff out. And they're not supposed to judge you. They're not supposed to make you feel bad. They're supposed to help you. They're supposed to guide you towards what you really want, what you really feel, and getting you in the right direction. Finding a therapist is definitely difficult because, again, personalities. You know, you get the lectures and you get the listeners. You know, there are those that are more empathetic, where they can understand where you're coming from, put themselves in your shoes. And you have the ones that are more logical, more calculating, and depending on your personality, you know, that could vary. You know, I had one therapist that he just rubbed me all types the wrong way. Like, it's nothing against who he is. He seems like a very nice man, very knowledgeable. Like, definitely knowledgeable. You can definitely tell that he really spent time studying his stuff. But, like, that emotional knowledge just wasn't quite there for me. And I'm like, hey, listen. That was more in a group setting. So, you know, I kind of slipped in and was like, actually, I think we're missing an important piece of this, which is, hey, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Do you need some emotional support? Like, emotional support is really a big thing. There's also different types of therapy as well. You know, I just said that this was part of a group setting. You know, there's one-on-one therapy, where you go in, you have your therapist, and you two work together to get you where you need to be. There's also group therapy. I believe that incorporating a little bit of both is very helpful, especially during times of great stress, because, you know, your therapist in one-on-one is only getting your point of view, your perspective, and can only gauge so much based off of what you're saying. But in a group setting, you get a little bit more of a dynamic approach. You get multiple ideas, you get multiple opinions, and, you know, the group that I was just in, you know, was amazing. You know, I had a group experience recently where the people were they were so great. You know, they kind of like we all supported each other. It kind of almost feels like a little family at this point, because we all supported each other, but we weren't afraid to be like, is that the way it is? Do you need to think about that a little bit more? You know, this video is going to be a little longer than normal, just because this is like my bread and butter. The therapy, I think therapy is super, super, super important. Even if you're not mentally ill, I think that therapy is important just to help you work things out. It's just another form of support. It's another form of healthcare. So, you know, group therapy is an amazing thing. And then there's different types of therapies, cognitive-based therapy, taking an idea and questioning it, figuring out why it doesn't quite fit, and fixing that idea. There is something called DBT, which I'll have to get more information on for you guys. There is rapid eye movement therapy, REM therapy. There is a ton of different therapies. There's a lot of different approaches. So, you know, when you start looking for things to help you, I mean, therapy is so broad that even, you know, there's retail therapy, which, careful with that, because, you know, money only stretches so far. But I mean, therapy is what you do to get yourself better, really. It's the actions that you do, the conversations you have that help you feel better. You know, exercise is therapy. You know, shopping to make you feel better is therapy. You know, and there's unhealthy therapy too. Like, you know what? I had a really rough day and I am going to get wasted. I am just gonna sit and drink whiskey until I fall over and fall asleep. And then I don't have to deal with it anymore. You know? That's just an example. I don't drink whiskey. A lot of my friends drink whiskey. You know, or I'm gonna go home and I am gonna get obliterated. Just whatever it is that you do to numb yourself. That is a type of therapy, but it's unhealthy therapy. You know, and I'm not saying drinking's bad. I'm not saying that, you know, using all drugs is bad. I'm not saying anything like, I'm not making judgments on those things. I'm saying when you're doing them to an excessive point to hide from your problems, that's when it's a problem. Because at some point, you have to wake up. At some point, you have to face these things and deal with them. And that's where the better, healthier therapies come in, where you talk about what's going on, where you search for a solution. You know, and there are solutions, guys. There's almost always a solution. There may be steps. It may take a while to get to that solution, but there is absolutely a solution. And I want you all to keep that in mind as well. You know, it's gonna get kind of dark for a second, so trigger warning. If things get too dark, please, you know, feel free to step away. But, you know, I know that sometimes for some people, it feels like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you always fall down and you always fall on your face and nothing ever goes right and you get stuck and you get into this pain, just this heartbreaking, heavy pain, and you just walk around with it every day, just day after day after day, and finally it gets to a point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. I want to end it. And they don't go to therapy. They don't get help because they don't feel like they can, or they don't know that it will help. Sorry. You have to. You have to. You have to try. You have to try. Because there's everything. There's everything to live for. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, you can search to make yourself better. And for me, like, there are very few things that are completely and utterly unforgivable. You know, and if you are looking to get better, anyone who looks to make themselves better deserves, like, more, more than a pat on the back, but, you know, this is a little bit of an just kind of came right out of my heart and onto the screen right now. But yeah, please, please, please don't look down on therapy. Don't shun people. Don't you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't shame people for therapy. Like, it is so helpful if you're willing to put the work in, and your life can get so much better if you can find the right therapist, find the right team, the right support system. And that's something that you do kind of have to build on your own. But if you find the right support system, getting better is possible. I hope that you all are doing great, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day, a great rest of your day, not good, a great rest of your day.